Hi friends, welcome to Sophia's Turning 50, where we connect and tell stories and embrace our age no matter what it is, but especially if we're turning 50. Please tell me that you're here. Use the comments to tell me that you're here, and also like the video, and I will tell you more about why I'd like you to like the video in the later section about the kids. Today we are going to talk about books and reading, my doctor's appointment with a retinal specialist. I have a story to share today in the kids section. I literally hate you, you're the worst. And of course I've got a fun show and tell, which is also from the 1980s. Okay, so the first thing we are going to talk about are books. And when I say books, I mean the actual books, not, I know you can read a story, read a novel on a Kindle, but I'm talking about the physical books. So I really like books, even though, we've evolved with technology. I even still take books on airplanes to read. And so today I am going to show you some of my favorite books, and I have a point that I'm getting to with showing you all my books, so hang with me while we do that. My favorite books are these Jane Austen books, and when I mean my favorite books, I mean literally the books themselves. They're also my favorite stories, and I do read them all once every year, 18 months or so, which is what led me to get nice copies of them, because I had a bunch of junky paperbacks, and I realized, oh, I could get a nice set of these. I like these. I want them on my library. So I, one day at Half Price Books in Austin, on one of our trips to Austin, I found this version of it, this really nice version. And so I just tracked down the publisher, and I got the whole set of Jane Austen books in this style. And they're really nice because this cover, it's like a little bit raised, the flowers are, so that it feels really good. You can see the gold on the pages, and then the pages they're very heavy and slick, and it's a pleasure, a joy to read these. I just love the feel of them, and of course I like the stories too, but the books themselves I just love them. And even though I did get rid of all my junky books, of course I had to keep my college copy of Pride and Prejudice, because it was the very first time I'd read it in my English class. I was an English major, and you can see here I have the University Co-op sticker still on it, and I think I bought this, I'm gonna say probably like spring of 1992. So is that 30 years? Almost 30 years that I've had it. And then I have one more to show you, which is, you'll never guess, Pride and Prejudice, another copy. This one is illustrated and annotated. Let's see if I can find a good picture in here. Oh, here's a color picture. And so it tells you all about the context for the story. It gives you definitions of some of the words that are used and how they're different then from how they're used now. And it's kind of like reading a novel and a history book at the same time, which I was a double major in English and history. So this just it's like my favorite thing. And I just love it. And I actually keep it on my nightstand all the time, because I'll just pick it up and just read a few pages of it just for fun, just because I enjoy it so much. And so I wanted to talk about these books, the actual books themselves, because it's an example of something smallish that I bought for myself that just brings me pleasure. And so I'm going to encourage you, are there small things that you could get for yourself, like a nicer version of, or in any way kind of just up-level the thing that you love? Because you deserve to have nice things. And especially if it's something small like a book or, a pan or whatever it is that would really bring you kind of joy on a day-to-day basis. And that's why I see these books all the time, and it make me happy every time I pass by them, and they weren't super expensive. And so I want you to think about, what can you get for yourself that would bring you that happiness and joy just when you saw it as you walk past it, and put it in the comments. Let us know what it is. Okay, now we're going to talk about reading just a little bit. So I am an avid reader. I read usually between like 35 and 45 books a year. I'm a little bit light on that this year, and I think it's just because I was so kind of emotionally overwhelmed by everything that has been going on this year that it was hard for me to settle down with a book. But I did recently just decide I was going to start getting back into it on a more regular basis. And so the first book I picked up with is this one. I think you pronounce it Karenina, Tolstoy. So yes, I just dove right in with a bajillion page novel. You can see I haven't gotten very far yet. And the reason I wanted to is because it's one of those books that's like, you know, a masterpiece of literature. And I just wanted to challenge myself with something a little bit more difficult. And I did something similar to this a few years ago. I had never read the Iliad or the Odyssey, and I really wasn't familiar with the Greek mythology in general. And so I listened to a Great Courses lecture series on Greek mythology generally. Then I listened to one on the Odyssey, and then I listened to one on the Iliad, and then I read both novels. And kind of the whole thing was enjoyable to me because it's like my brain needs to constantly be learning and reading and engaged. The point of all this is it's good for your brain to learn new things, read new things, read difficult books, or just learn something new that you didn't know. You know, it helps. I don't know all the scientific terms of it, but essentially it creates new wrinkles in your brain, which is always good. And those are the wrinkles that we want, new wrinkles in our brain. And so I just encourage you, if there's something that you don't know about that you'd like to learn about, read a book about it. I know that's old-fashioned. You don't read a 2-page quick read article, read an actual book about it and see what you think. Now we're going to talk about my appointment with the retinal specialist for my eye. And I want to talk to you about this just so you're aware of this particular event that could happen with your eyes in case it happens to you. So I have floaters in my eyes, and if you don't know what floaters are, then you're lucky. So good for you. But if you do know what floaters are, I mean, if you have floaters, then you know what I'm talking about. So if you don't have them, it's like the shadows of worms floating over your eyes pretty much all the time. I mean, I'm seeing a floater kind of come across my eye right now. And so I've always had them. And the last time I had an eye checkup, they told me, you know, you have some really big floaters for someone your age, so you really need to keep an eye on that. And if you have flashing lights, or, you know, suddenly you have a really big shadow over your eye, you need to get in to see a specialist right away about that. And I said, okay, well, is that like ER situation or what? And they said, no, just, you know, get in as quick as you can. And so, you know, 6 months go by or whatever. And then one day I wake up and I started to walk around, and then flash, 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 shadow. And I had a girls' weekend planned for that weekend because we had all just been vaccinated, and we were going to go to Paso Robles for wine tastings. And I was so happy that I had asked them at the time, is it emergency or is it just urgent? Because I was able to still go. And this is where I'm, you know, suggesting that when you have an appointment, you need to ask a lot of questions and advocate and make sure you know everything that you need to know about whatever it is that they're telling you you're going to need or you're going to need to do. And so that was an example of how my weekend did not get ruined, because I knew, all right, I just need to get in quickly next week. So I went in the following week, and they take pictures of your eyes and stuff like that. Because the reason that it's urgent to go in is because it could be a sign that your retina is tearing. And I don't know what the retina is attached to. I don't know a lot. They explained it to me once, and of course I forgot it immediately. But the idea is that these floaters it means that I think your retina is drying out, or it's pulling or something, and your retina could detach. That sounds bad. So I said, well, I don't want that to happen. I don't know what that means, but I don't want that to happen. It sounds terrible. And, you know, the way you would have to repair that would be with surgery. You could lose your vision if you don't repair it. And so, you know, I had mine checked right away. They were fine. I went back 3 weeks later, still fine. I just had my 4-month appointment this past week, still fine. And then I made a 6-month appointment out. And then after that, I'll go annually. But again, they said, you know, this time if you see a bright light, now apparently little lights, I'm not going to worry about that. So I guess that's just what happens when you get 50 and past 50 is you can just see flashing lights in your eyes and it's no big deal. Now at this point, apparently it'll just, it's like if you have something that's like a headlight in your face or a really dark shadow, then I need to get in right away. So it's like I always say, do not wait. When something is going on that is not exactly the way it was yesterday, start thinking about going to see a doctor about that. And as I said, also, I go to the doctor for everything all the time, so I'm sure I will have more to share in the coming weeks. Now I have something in the I literally hate you, you're the worst segment, and it's about my daughter Lily. So before I actually started putting these videos out, I was doing a lot of kind of bringing my camera to different places and trying to figure out, am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? What's it going to be like? And so one day Lily kind of saw me walking around with all my equipment and she said, oh, she just rubbed my arm, Mommy, you're working so hard. And I said, what? And she was like, you're just working so hard and it's just going to go out there and nobody's going to look. You're going to get like 4 views and it's just going to fail. I was like, you know, I know people, right? I have friends. I'm going to tell them that I'm doing it. Why would I get no views? Wouldn't at least some people watch it if I asked them to? And she was just like, I don't. So this is why I asked you to like it earlier. And if you want to, you can just watch it over and over again. And then that way I can shove it in my daughter's face and say, do you see that I do know people and that I got more than 4 views? So anyway, that's my story about my kids. Now we're going to talk about my 80s show and tell. Okay, so what we've got here is, this is my workout athletics t-shirt from when I was a volleyball player in high school. I went to Somerset High School. I was on the volleyball team and I was actually on the varsity team and I got a varsity letterman jacket for volleyball and I stunk. I was not a good volleyball player at all. I sat on the bench most of the time, but it was fun. It kind of was one of the defining things of high school because I just, you know, very social, hung out with my friends all the time. And I liked riding the bus back and forth to games and all of that. So that was great. And that was great fun. And then as I got a little bit older, in 2005, I did my first triathlon. And this was one of those things where I just decided I'm going to do a triathlon. And I did not know how to swim, particularly in open water. And I also could not ride a bike with gears and did not have one. And so I had to go buy a bike with gears and be taught how to ride it. And then I also had to join a workout group to learn how to swim. And I did it and I completed the triathlon. I was slow, probably in the bottom half of finishers, but I didn't care because it was the completion. I did it. And this is another example of trying new things. You know, you can start something new right now, even if you didn't learn how to do it when you were a kid. And that's what I did. You know, I was 33, I think, when I did it. And so, you know, it was fun. And it made me feel really good. You know, when I was 33, I was already feeling old. And now I'm like, oh, brother. So I just wanted to share those things with you, particularly because of the idea here of trying new things. All right, well, that's all we have for today. Thank you for joining me. Remember to, you know, buy yourself a little something nice if it brings you joy, and to get your eyes checked, and to try new things, and especially to embrace your age no matter what it is. All right, see you next time.